staying motivated on your indie game. This is such a good topic. It's not one that we talk about enough in the indie game development community. Let's jump into it. This question comes from Jason Accardo at the Thin Ginger. Just Thin Ginger. Not the Thin Ginger, just a Thin Ginger. And he says, any game dev tips on staying motivated to work on a personal project after getting home from a 9-to-5 game dev job? Jason, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I have to say, it's tough. But there are some things to make it easier. I think it's important to look at we have two resources, I think, as hobbyists, let's say. The first resource is time, and we don't have a lot of time because most of our time is going to our day job. So I've got 2 tips for you to save time. And then part 2 is going to be sanity. Sanity meaning, how do we create an indie game with our free time while not, becoming chronically depressed, while not becoming demotivated, excited enough to get the project out the door. We're going to talk about those 2 topics. 2 tips for saving time, 2 tips for saving sanity. Let's jump into it. Tip number 1 for saving time is going to be to invest in tooling. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's jump into Unity. So this is a game I've been working on in my free time, and this is a game that's a multiplayer game. So if I want to test a change, then what I need to do is I need to go to my lobby scene, which is a specific scene in Unity. Then I need to start the game. Then I need to log into a new room. Then I need to create a bot and have them join my lobby. And then I need to initiate the game start. And all of that is a lot of work to do. And so what I did was I invested in tooling to create a simple system that will automate that user flow so that if I want to jump into the game, it'll all happen naturally. So for example, right now I'm in the house scene, but if I push play, it's going to switch me over to the main lobby scene. It's going to log me in. It's going to do all those things I mentioned, and I'll be able to just start off right in the middle of a game. I think this is critical in order to save yourself time so that you can invest in the kind of things that you want to do, right? So now I can jump into the game here. I can run around. I can shoot people, do whatever I need to do, right? So that is really helpful because now I'm not spending time on all those little things. And honestly, even something as simple as like switching to a different scene, I highly recommend customizing the Unity editor. Once you start learning how to do it, it becomes a superpower. I could switch very easily between scenes with these little buttons here. So I could switch over to the menu scene very fast, or switch over to the house scene again. Otherwise, you have to, and I was just showing this, but you could go into assets, then scenes. It takes a long time to kind of find all the different resources you need. If you know that's something you're constantly editing, then it helps a lot to have a little button that's going to just zoom, get you there real quick. For example, it's very common that I want to maybe edit the AI logic. So I might push a button right here, click that button, boom, and it opens up my AI logic. It has it selected in the inspector. Little things like that save so much time. I highly recommend doing that. Okay, that's it for tip number 1. Tip number 2 for saving time is going to be baby steps. So, jumping back into Unity, I'm gonna talk about this a lot. I already talked about my logging system, and the logging system has saved me so much time. I can't even begin to say how much I recommend having a log. I talked about it in a YouTube video previously. Let me see if I can pull that up. This video, simple time tracking tool in Unity. It's totally free. You could just download exactly what I use. But basically, every time I log into Unity, it prompts me with a new log entry. So whenever I push play, I'm manually invoking it with this editor button here. But it will open up the log and it'll say, hey, what are you working on today? So it'll create a new entry, and then I can type into it and say, oh, today I'm working on this. And that is so helpful because I can just scroll down to my log, see what my bugs were for my latest playtest here a few days ago. I can also see, oh, what are the current to-do items that I need to work on? All the little things like that, they help a ton. So that's huge, because what you could do is you could just go to the to-do list. You could find what are the little things that I could do. What's the smallest amount of work that I need to achieve today? And then you can start working on that, and it will make a big difference because now you're not spending time trying to prioritize stuff. You kind of be an asynchronous producer for yourself. Set up all the tasks that you need to do so that when you need to work, you just jump in and you just grab the next stack you grab the next task off the stack, and you just hop on in. You just hop into work. Just hop on over there and get started. So those are all my tips for saving time. Now let's jump into the second section: saving your sanity. A few tips here. The first one is to record your progress. So I talked a little bit about how I have that automated log system, and what's really nice about that is I have the means to record what it is that I'm working on at certain times. And so what that has turned into is then when I jump into the game, I can go over here into my debug menu and I can see my actual work log. So I can see my progress, and this is a bit of an inspiration for me. So I can see, oh, okay, already I've logged 500 hours. In the last 30 days, I've worked 70 hours. And now I can look at all the little things I've worked on. These are the different topics. If I want, I could click on a graph and zoom in to all the different things I've done within that. So for example, I was improving the build system for 30% of my time that I invested 13 hours into the development environment of my project, right? So little things like this, honestly, I think a pretty graph can go a long way in just inspiring you. So I find that's a huge motivation for me, just to see that progress laid out. Maybe something like that would be effective for you as well. And then my last tip for you, this is going to be the way that I would recommend you to save sanity is to share your progress. Okay, that's the last tip, sharing your progress. For me, that has been creating small little YouTube videos. I know there's a really healthy indie game dev community of people who create videos talking about what games they're working on and what's their latest achievement on their way to their, little passion project, their dream game, all that stuff. That always inspires me, and I love making YouTube videos to share all the things that I learn along the way. So this channel basically has been a huge motivator for me. I've recently passed 1,000 subscribers, which was a huge milestone. It really inspired me. And so sharing that progress and inspiring other people to make games, whether they're students or they're, professionals in their career already, that is a huge motivation for me, and it definitely helps me get going. I will say, making videos can be draining though, right? Like, I rarely have enough energy to go on camera. So most days when I come home, I'm not really ready to just jump on a stream or just jump on to create a video. Can't just hop on in there. But for the most part, game dev is nice because it can be very relaxed, and it has, especially if you're an indie, you're wearing multiple hats. There's a wide variety of different disciplines that you could work on, and so that's good in the sense that, if you've been working a lot on a complicated physics system for your day job, then maybe that's not something you need to do for your indie work, right? Maybe you can work on a project that's very art focused, and you can get a different kind of feel. You can work on something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. That's something I appreciate. And another thing I'll note, just on the topic of creating your own tooling, what I really appreciate about indie work is I can kind of be lazy, right? So with my day job, I can't be lazy because people are depending on me. I work on a big team, and so it's very important for me to get the stuff done so that I can relieve people who are otherwise blocked. However, on an indie project, I am just working with myself, or maybe one other person, maybe Scott, my co-creator. And so I can kind of chill out. I can kind of let it stay a hobby. And if I want to go deep on studying a new topic or learning about a technology that might not even work out, but I just think it's a cool thing for me to explore, then that's something I could do in indie game dev. And I try to embrace that, right? So this ridiculous logging system I've put a ton of time into, I really enjoyed that. And that was something that brought me a lot of smiles to my face, and that's something that I could invest my time in, whereas it probably would not have made as much sense for me to do something like that for a day job, just because the reward you get from it is not as it's not as easy to measure monetarily, but all the more reason to invest in it because it's not like a monetary benefit, it's a benefit to make you smile, right? And ultimately, the reason why we're doing all of these things, reducing the amount of time it takes, the amount of frustration, is because you want to work in a happy place. You want Unity to be a happy place, if that's your game engine, or Unreal Engine, if that's your game engine. Whatever it is, when you open up your project, you want that to be a happy place. You want to look forward to doing that every day, right? And so removing all the little encumbrances that might come with game development, For example, long loading times. I don't know what else. Like it's complicated to set up all the variables when you need to test something specifically, right? Bad testing tools. Like investing in all those things so that the development part actually becomes a bit of a breeze, and you spend less time, fixing gnarly bugs, and you spend more time being creative and doing the things that you fell in love with in this industry to start with. I think that all helps to make a difference. So hopefully some of these tips were useful for you. If you have tips as an indie game dev that you want to share in the comment section, I'd really appreciate that. I'm always learning, and it's a shared journey, right? And so one of the best things about this YouTube channel is creating the community that we can support each other, and I've gotten so much from that, so thank you so much for your support. And if you haven't subscribed already, that's one of the best ways to support this channel, and join me in the next video. All right, thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.